Hey everyone.
Hi, Rupert. Good evening.
Good evening. Hey Diana, can you hear me?
Yes, Rupert.
I've been playing around with the Patreon tiers today. Do you have a couple of minutes at the end of this session just so I can explain what I've done to you?
Okay.
Wonderful, thank you.
Made it sound a little ominous, but I'm good with it.
No, it's I guess it's a minor thing. It's just that you're way more supportive than anybody else. And so I've had to juggle the tiers slightly. But I will explain it at the end of this session. Yeah, right. Well, so good to see you all here. Thank you for being here again. Yay, this is up to a high level now, level 6. If you can make it through this session, you get to level 6 in thinking. Fantastic. It's a thinking challenge just for some people to find the link on this this session, because the goal is, my hope is that people will watch the level 4 and the level 6 sessions in order with the test in the middle. And but many people don't actually read the event description. They just see an event and they sign up for it, which is nice, you know, but in order to get these happening in order, I am not posting the link in the normal place. I'm just embedding it within the event description. So well done everybody for being here, for having sufficient thinking skills to work that out. Let's see, there are 8 people signed up, but there are only 5 of us here, so there may be other people joining us soon. So I'm going to keep an eye on Facebook and just check to see if anybody's trying to contact me to get in. Okay, here's somebody. Well, how's everybody doing? Matthew, how are you? You had a good weekend so far?
Well, yes, my personal life has been kind of hectic lately due to some personal challenges, but
Oh dear.
I was at the meeting this morning, Rupert, and I'm really enjoying this process.
Fabulous.
Yes, thank
That was
you.
a good meeting this morning. That Nicole and Nancy really powered through with their remote viewing skills and just showed everybody this is how you do it.
Yeah, well, Fred also. Fred, did you find the lake?
Yes, I did. I got on Google Earth and I also got on another site, like the National Forestry Service site that has a lot of information about Mount Adam. And I checked out the ECETI Ranch, and of course, you know, with Google Earth, I got a really good view of Mount Adams itself. It's very interesting looking mountain, and how you can see all the erosion going off on the east side of it, and the glaciers breaking off at the top of the mountain and traveling downwards. It's quite stunning, actually, looking at it from Google Earth. It's pretty interesting. But the ECETI Ranch itself, I saw where the lake was. It's a very small lake on their property. And by looking at, on Google Earth, you can see, the layout, and you can determine exactly where the picture was taken and where they perform most of their CE5 events. It's near an open field off the main road that goes into the complex, and the lake is like behind you from that view of where they took that picture. And it's where they usually take all their pictures, I guess. Gives them a nice view. The mountain is a bit a ways away. They're not really that close to that mountain, but it is a very large mountain.
Good
And
deal. Good deal. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, there's people did well with that remote viewing session. I'm just going to quickly go around everybody and just say hello and see if you want to let me know anything briefly that's going on in your lives. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm just being nosy, I suppose. Naomi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. How's Nikki?
Nikki's all good too.
Fabulous. Is it you or is it her who has the impressive graphic design kind of skills in drawing like that recent tuk-tuk image?
Actually, I found a picture, so she like pasted on the iPad for me. And after that, I just did my stuff.
Wow,
So
well, it's
rest
very
of-
cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Eve, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing all right. How are you?
Not bad. I've been off work for a couple of days and all I'm doing is sleeping. I've been sleeping all day for the last 2 days.
Got to
Yeah.
catch up on that R&R.
Yeah. Whitney, hello. Okay.
Gotta find that mute button. Sorry, kid. How are you guys this evening? I'm doing well. Did anybody start The Witcher yet?
Pardon?
Did anybody start The Witcher yet?
Oh, no, I've been asleep.
I did well in that remote viewing. I seen the mountain as well. I don't know where I got a dolphin. Maybe it was just the fin and I thought it was the mountain, but I got cold. I'll have to send you the picture of it that I drew.
Yeah, cool. I don't know. Maybe there's a dolphin inside the mountain.
Maybe where I sensed a being and it was dolphin-like. I don't know.
Yeah.
that's interesting because when we tried to remote view for aliens, I was kind of stuck on this planet as well after the first part of it. So I felt when you said that, to reach out your hand to them and offer, your friendship and your love, I felt an energy in my hand and I could see in my mind's eye like a flipper, like form of energy that held my hand, and also another one that came in towards my center of my body.
Mm.
Came up towards the center of my body, which was pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
Very cool. Yeah, Diana, hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. I have been doing a lot of sleeping as well. Every time I play those Tukta videos, they knock me right out. I feel like there's must be something in the healing in it that they just knock you right out.
That's
So it has
awesome.
been an exciting and productive time for me.
Fantastic. Well, we have 8 participants now. That's, I think, everybody who signed up is here. So fantastic. I'm going to get started. So we're talking about thinking today. And I've got my introduction in front of me, and I've talked through the introduction with you guys so many times. But I want to just recap on something that's important here. I am trying to raise people up to the level of aliens. And in doing so, I do alienate some people. There's a fast sort of fallout rate. And you know, there's two ways of looking at this. This is me taking people in the wrong direction. That's one interpretation. Or that humanity as a whole is already in the wrong place, and I'm trying to take people away from that place. It's very hard to change. And that's what I'm asking people to do. And so it's understandable. I don't feel bad about people who listen to what I say and they make the decision, no, this is not right, this is not where I want to go. It's okay if you feel that way. We can still be friends, we can still be civil and polite, and but if, you know, if the things I'm saying don't sit well with you, it's time to stop rising up the levels. It's not time to leave the group and say Rupert's insane. No, I'm not going to follow him anymore. If you've been enjoying what you've been doing up until now, you're not going to lose that. You can still keep doing that. You're just not going to follow me further to this crazy place where I want to take you. So, you know, I just want to make that clear, put that out there. Sorry. Now, last session, we were looking at categories of knowledge. And in the level 4 session, I introduced the idea to you that instead of believing in anything, instead of accepting anything as being true without proof, we don't need to do that believing thing. We can know that we don't know, or we can know that we know, or we can know that something is probably true or probably not true. We can always start from a foundation of knowledge. Even when we don't know something, we can know that we don't know. So what I'm asking people to do in order to keep ascending up to level 7 is to discard beliefs, is to recognize that beliefs are intellectually invalid and result in errors and a lot of conflict. So that's what this pillar is all about, trying to think in a way where we are no longer making mistakes. We don't need to make mistakes in the way we think. You know, nobody's perfect, and inevitably we will make occasional mistakes, but we can at least be aware of the idea that believing in things, having faith in things, opens oneself up to making mistakes. So what I started last session was to look through a number of different examples of things that people believe in, and to try and give you my evaluation of those things. Well, I'm going to continue working through that process today. You can get, if you stick with me and listen to what I'm saying, you can get level 6 at the end of this. Whether you agree with me or not, you can end up with level 6 at the end of this session. So you don't need to believe anything I'm saying, or accept anything I'm saying rather, in order to tick off this box in the CE5 wisdom system. And after this session, there is just the morality pillar. For many of you, there is the level 4 morality, and then there's the level 6 morality. And a lot of people here, when we do the level 6 morality, that will finish off your 6666. There is the knowledge pillar with all of those videos to watch through, and I'm hoping people are watching through those in their own time. I don't check up on you to, you know, I can't check up on you to see if you're doing that, but I'm hoping that in a week or two, when we get to that morality 6 session, people really have got to level 6666, because it's a graduation. It's a graduation ceremony. I go through everything we've learned over all the important things over the last 24 sessions. And so I'm hoping when we get to that stage, people will have been a little bit vigilant at home and worked through and checked off all the boxes. So I want to say again, the reason I am going through all of these things, telling you what I think we shouldn't be believing in, is not because I want to upset people or annoy people. I think people know me well enough to know that that's not my intention. But truth is important. It's important to me. It's important to the planet. It's our lack of ability to determine truths is destroying the planet. It's important to aliens. So there's a lot of this is controversial, but I kind of need to put it to you so that when we get to level 7, we really are a coherent group. So I'm going to start off with some examples that are not very important. Believing in these things is unlikely to cause any direct harm to anybody. That's why it's not important. However, they can make people look unintelligent, unwise, and unevolved to each other and to aliens. So I think it's important to go through these particular things that people believe in. The first one is fortune-telling practices. Fortune-telling practices like palm reading, tarot cards, tea leaf reading, astrology. Now, there is enough proof for us to know that many people who practice these belief systems can sometimes predict future events. They can sometimes get real psychic insight into the world, into the universe, and into people's lives. However, the active ingredient in these cases is often completely misunderstood. The active ingredient with things like palm reading, tarot cards, tea leaf reading, astrology, is the psychic, is the person. It is the reader or the practitioner that has the ability. It's not the tools that they're using. It's not the tarot cards. Cards are not magic. Tea leaves are not magic. Astrology does not have magic within the position of the celestial objects. These things are not instilled with magic. They're not themselves infused with information about future events or personality traits. They're just tools through which psychic abilities of the practitioner reveal themselves. The mechanisms by which correct information about the past and the present or the future is sometimes obtained is remote viewing. It is us connecting our spirits to other times and places. I forget how many tarot cards there are in a deck. I don't think I've ever learned it, but there's a limited number. That limited number cannot give you all the combinations to all of the character traits and all of the lives of people in the universe. When a card is laid out in front of you, that card has numerous different meanings. It is the practitioner who uses their own psychic abilities to interpret that and connect to the real things in that person's life. But it's a psychic connection. It's a remote viewing spiritual connection. When non-psychic people use those systems, they don't get accurate results. Astrology in particular is misunderstood by many people. The fact that there's an ology at the end of that is very misleading. Logy is there because it is logic, something that is logical. And it's used in science a lot: geology, biology, meteorology. That ology is in there in a lot of sciences because science is logical. Science is logical. Logic is the process of making deductions that have to be true or correct. And that's what science does. It's not a belief system. It is a way of determining truths using logic. Astrology is not that. It's using that, what's it called? Prefix, not prefix, suffix, incorrectly. It's using it within validity. Some people get confused because like, well, isn't space like scientific? Well, it's not space that it's scientific. Scientific is how you think about space. Astrology may be mathematically structured around positions and motion of real bodies, and it's real motion and real positions. So there are structured systematic, there is a structured systematic methodology within it, but that doesn't make it logical. What would make it logical is to use logic to make deductions from the evidence, from the data, from the positions, and that doesn't happen with astrology. So astrology is not a science. It doesn't make conclusions that are correct. It's an ancient belief system. People used to have no science. They used to just make interpretations about what was around them. And the most wonderful heavenly thing that was around them was the sky and the stars. And so they made up stories about the sky and stories about the stars, and they had belief systems associated with them. And they worshipped those things. And, you know, it doesn't make it true. It's like that they used to believe the earth was flat. They used to believe that the sun moves around the earth. They used to believe that there's only 4 elements in the universe. We know that these things are out of date and incorrect now. Astrology is out of date and incorrect. But the psychic element is the spiritual element of it, and these other belief systems, it does have validity. That does have validity. So if we could summarize all of these things, we can say that we know that these belief systems are mostly not true. We can know that certain elements are not true. For example, if you take something like astrology, well, astrology is set. The motion of the planets is set. It's in place. They're very predictable. So that would mean that everybody's future, if astrology is real, is set. But we know that's not true. We know that the time travel is possible. We remote view forwards and backwards in time. We did it today. We remote viewed backwards in time. And if the remote viewing of information is possible, the future is in motion, as Yoda said. The timeline is not static. It can change. It has to not be static. It has to not be static if time travel of information is possible. Because if time travel of information is possible, you can change something. And we see that happening, and we know that's true. So we can know that those fortune-telling belief systems are mostly not true. There's another thing here which is not particularly important, but it reveals our lack of understanding or knowledge about something. A lot of people now believe that the universe isn't literally real. People use words like holographic. People use words like matrix. A lot of people believe that the universe is a holographic projection of the matrix. Well, philosophically, this is a very interesting subject. It's been known for a very long time that from a philosophical standpoint, you cannot prove that this reality is real. It could just be your perception that it's real, but your perception might be invalid. You can't prove that I really exist in the way, as a human being, as a real human being who has sentience like you do. If you imagine playing a computer game and you're immersed in this computer game reality, these computer games are getting more and more and more sophisticated. They're quickly becoming like virtual reality that in time, there's no reason why technologically, these virtual reality systems will be able to simulate reality to the extent that a person won't know the difference between the virtual reality and the real reality. Maybe we should call it virtual non-reality. So that's a philosophical possibility that we presently are already in a very advanced virtual non-reality. And we would not know the difference. Now, that's rather annoying to have that there, but it's philosophically true. How could you tell the difference? Well, just because something is possible doesn't mean that it's true. Many people take that philosophical possibility and extrapolate it to the extent that they say, well, it is true. We have a huge interest in this subject at the moment. We have the Matrix is coming out with a new movie, right? And lots of people believe in this Matrix, and there are people out there in the media who talk with absolute certainty that the Matrix is real. So a lot of people believe that when people talk with certainty and conviction, and they seem quite intelligent, people believe them. We shouldn't be believing anybody. Little bit of history. If you go back to 1976, Doctor Who's The Deadly Assassin episode was the first sci-fi show of I know that had the Matrix in it. It goes back to Doctor Who. It was called The Matrix, and it was a computer-generated artificial reality that the Doctor went into. It didn't come out with the movie in 1999, The Matrix. The only thing that we can really be certain about is if you are thinking, if you are aware of your own sentience, your own thoughts, your own existence, then you are real. That's, I think, therefore I am. But beyond that, we can't really prove anything. And that's a little annoying, but it seems to be true. But as I said, just because something is possible doesn't mean that it actually exists. If you imagine in a court of law that the only evidence required to prove that somebody actually committed a crime was that it wasn't impossible for them to have done it, that's not enough. That's not a very high standard of proof. It's not impossible that they did it. So we're going to convict them? No, you don't convict somebody based on it wasn't impossible for them to have done it. You need to actually prove something to be true, to accept something as being true, to accept that the person is guilty or innocent. It was possible, it is possible that yesterday I bought some ice cream, but I didn't. It's possible that this evening, when I finish talking to you, I will buy a plane ticket and fly to Australia, but I won't. So just because this matrix idea is possible doesn't mean that it's true. It's fine to propose theories, but they remain theories until they are proved. We should never warp theories into beliefs. So what is the evidence of this matrix, this artificial reality? Well, there really isn't any. The most that we can really say is evidence is that things exist in the universe that we don't fully understand, like ghosts and dark matter. And people will say, you know, science doesn't understand these things. Therefore, they must be a sign that what we think is real isn't real, that everything is the matrix. That's not evidence. It's reasonable in that you have a reason for thinking that your belief is correct, but that's not proof. That's not logic. Over time, our knowledge as a species grows. Holes in our knowledge are continually being filled in. That's what science is doing, and science is expanding and strengthening every day. Our knowledge of reality, and I'm using the word knowledge because it's been proved, our knowledge of reality is expanding every day. We can't use our lack of knowledge about some things in the universe as proof that those things, that we live in some kind of artificial reality. We can only use our lack of knowledge as proof that we have a lack of knowledge. There's no respectable or significant evidence that we are actually living in an artificial reality. So just based on the fact that we have no evidence for it being an artificial reality, we can say that we know that the matrix, in the way that its proponents describe it, is almost certainly not real. Something's almost certainly not real if there's no real evidence for it. You know, if we could do things like what they can do in the matrix, and we can manipulate reality to that extent, and we can see the fabric of this artificial reality showing itself, you know, that would be a different matter, but we just don't see that. What we can know also is that if we experience this reality as though it's real, then it doesn't really matter if it's literally real or not. Because within this reality, logic still works. Logic does work. Science still works. Knowledge is still knowledge within this reality, whether it's natural laws or artificial code that is determining, for example, the electric charge on an electron. The things that we perceive as electrons in this reality, they do have that charge, and they always have that charge, 1.602 times 10 to the negative 19 coulombs. Things like this about this reality that science knows, that we know, they're always true. And whether it's computer code that has embedded them into our reality, or whether it's just, this is what nature is, it really doesn't make any difference to our reality, because our reality is as complex and advanced, as sophisticated, and it is identical to the way that we perceive it to be in this reality. So within this reality, as we perceive it, it is real. So neither the matrix nor any of those fortune-telling things, they're not particularly important. You can get to level 7 and well, you can't get to level 7 if you have any beliefs at all. So I'll change what I was going to say there. But you know, you can be my friends if you believe in those things. I'm not going to say you're a bad person for believing in tarot cards or the matrix. I just maybe think that you haven't thought through the process as well as you could do. There are some examples that I want to talk about today that I'm categorizing as moderately important, because believing in these things could potentially lead to harm being caused indirectly to one or more sentient beings by failing to fully understand and address some of the world's problems. So I'm going to look at some more examples now, which are a little bit more problematic to believe in. The first one is karma. The notion of karma is that the same amount of good and bad that you put into the world will come back to you. Karma is a wonderfully simple and very appealing idea. Basically, it's like, if I live my life in a good way, I will get good back in return. Well, that's nice. If I live my life in a consistently good enough way, I won't get any bad coming back at me. That's very nice. That's a nice idea. And people who are bad to me will have bad come back at them in return. That seems fair. So, you know, this is a tempting thing to believe because it appeals to our sense of fairness. But we need to be careful about accepting things as being true just because they feel nice. What is the evidence for karma? Is this law correct that the world is always fair, the universe is always fair. Certainly we can think about some occasions when we do some good for somebody and then something good happens back in return. And we do something bad to somebody and something bad happens to us. We can all think of examples where there is like seems to be like a balancing, but is that balancing a law? Is it always there? Is it true that karma is always there? Well, no, it's not. We can show and we can prove that. There are plenty of times when good things happen to, there are plenty of times when bad things happen to good people. You know, I don't want to bring in nasty thoughts into people's minds, but probably some of you will have seen about that bouncy castle incident that happened, where several children died, and I won't go into the details. But that was an accident. Those children who died recently, if you saw that in the news, it was a tragedy. That's not karma getting back at them for doing something wrong. There's nothing that those children could have done wrong to deserve that. And to accept karma into your lives as something that always true would be to try and have some kind of explanation in your mind that that negative incident occurred because those children happen to have done something worthy of that sort of thing. I know children that have, toddlers that have been killed when a TV fell on their head, things like this. Bad things happen to good people. The world is full of accidents happening all the time, and you can't put that down to karma. That's a kind of an offensive thing to think about that in that way. And there are things that go the other way around, that there are good things, an unfair share of good things happening to bad people. Is there anybody here who can think of some pretty bad people in the world who seem to always get away with it? Who always seem to not just get away with it, but have this wonderful life with lots of money and power. And, you know, I can think of people like that. Karma is not a real thing. We can know that karma is not true. I know a lot of good people, probably people in this session right here, right now, definitely people in our CE5 group who are wonderful, wonderful people who deal with the most appalling of issues in their lives, and they don't deserve that. So we can know that karma is not true. And then, of course, you've got the law of attraction, which is basically karma. It's a variation of karma. They just call it a law because law, attraction, that kind of sounds scientific, right? People like to use scientific sounding vocabulary in order to promote the idea that their belief system, like Scientology and things like that, to promote the idea that their belief system is correct. But there's the law of attraction, that if you put out positive vibes, you attract positive vibes back. It's not a law. Laws are things that have to be obeyed. Scientific laws are things like Newton's laws of motion, which are always true, unless you start moving at relativistic speeds, but that doesn't mean that they're not true at non-relativistic speeds. Force is equal to mass times acceleration, things like that. Those are laws that we can build spacecraft out of, that we build cars and machines and various things out of. The laws that we use allow us to, like Kirchhoff's laws and things in electricity, allow us to have computers and electrical devices in front of us that consistently, I mean, not, they go wrong occasionally, but not in violation of the laws of physics. We can know that the law of attraction is not true because it's claiming to be a law. Another thing that people often, it's very fashionable to think this in the CE5 community, that this idea of manifestation. If you talk about something negative, you're going to just keep manifesting the negative and it won't go away. People say things like, it's our fears that manifest as negative experiences. If you have negative experiences, it's a result of you being afraid. Well, none of that's true. The idea that we can manifest anything if we want, anything that we want, if we raise our vibrations high enough, whatever that means, that's simply incorrect. Now we do experiments with this. With a psychic timeline manipulation, we can focus on something like heads or tails when we toss a coin, and we can put all our combined effort into making there be more heads than tails. And it's not easy, but we can nudge reality up to about 20% away from what is randomly likely. We've discovered that we can do that. At times, it's a struggle to even make it go 1% away from what is randomly probable, but we can do it. And lots of people have noted in various documentaries, yes, you can change on a random number generator, you can focus on getting more ones or more zeros. But you can only nudge it to a certain extent. We can't perform miracles. We can't do what's not possible. We can only affect reality in ways that are possible. That's what the word possible means. And it's limited what we can do. If it were not limited, we could have anything we wanted, and we would have anything we wanted. But it's not possible. We can also only nudge reality into something, as I say, that is possible. For example, if I focus on making that coin come out on heads, well, it could possibly land on heads. So that's something that is possible for us to do. If I focused on trying to make that coin, when I toss it, turn into a bumblebee and fly away, I'm not going to be able to do that, because that's not possible. We can't manifest anything. So this is actually kind of a dangerous concept to think of, to believe that you can manifest anything in your life, and that anything that does happen in your life is manifested by your own thoughts. And if you don't believe me, try it. Try and manifest anything. I'm having a crazy hair moment. Okay. So most of the time, this idea of trying to nudge reality into what we want it to be, most of the time it doesn't work. There is this slight effect, which I call psychic timeline manipulation, and we're actively experimenting on that in these some of these sessions. But the idea that we can create our own realities can be a very destructive and dangerous idea. One example I give is that one of my friends on Facebook, she posted some photos about how she looked after she'd been viciously attacked by a stranger. She was her whole face was bruised and bloodied after this attack. And in response to that photo, somebody commented on her Facebook photo post that she must have done something wrong in order to manifest such a nasty thing to happen to her. They basically told her it was her fault. Now that was a factually wrong and morally wrong stance to take, but this is what we get when we start believing things. We can start to justify acting in ways that are not moral. Some people believe that if we raise our vibrational states high enough, then we can prevent things like pandemics and climate change. Well, we know why the pandemic started, even though some people don't accept the scientific knowledge that we have. It started because of our abuse of animals, our proximity to nature and killing. It came from a wet market where we're dealing with animals that have the virus, and these viruses are zootonic. They crossed from animals to humans. That's where our pandemics come from. That's where things like flus come from, HIV, various different, most of the pandemics, most of the viruses and diseases we have come from our abuse of animals. And if there was one lesson that we should have learned from this pandemic, it was, let's stop eating meat, let's be nice to animals, and let's stop cutting them up and mixing our bodies with their internal juices. And we didn't get it. People prefer to believe in conspiracy theories. With climate change, the science is very well understood. Some people deny it, but the climate change science is extremely well understood. There is no disagreement among scientists. There's only disagreement in the media or with politicians. There's only disagreement in articles that have been funded by the oil and coal industry, the people that are causing the problem. And there are people out there who believe that, why are you dwelling on this negativity? It's the dwelling on the negativity that's causing it to happen. You're manifesting it to happen. And that if all you need to do is be positive and raise your vibrational state, and magically climate change won't be a problem. Well, what they don't get is that even if there's a bit of psychic timeline manipulation that you can nudge things in certain directions, you can only nudge them in ways that are possible. We've been putting all of the carbon dioxide, all of the carbon that has been trapped in that oil and coal for millions of years. We've been burning it and putting it into the atmosphere. Tons and tons and tons of the stuff. You can't manifest that away. That's not possible. That's like changing the coin into a bumblebee and it will fly away. You can't make climate change stop. So it's a dangerous thing to have these beliefs, because they stop you, they stop people from not contributing. They stop people from changing in a way that is going to stop climate change, that's going to curtail it. They change people from trying to do something about it, because they stick their head in the sand. So we can know that these manifestation ideas are, well, we can know that there is a small effect, that we do have an ability up to about 20%. We do have an ability to nudge reality in one way rather than another way. But we can know that manifesting in sort of this miraculous way that some people think that it's true is not possible. And we can know that most of the reality we have around us is not a product of our thinking. So these are things that I'm saying are not particularly important. Well, that one about climate change is important. Some people think that if we fear something, we will manifest it into reality. I'm going to tell you the thing that I'm probably most scared of in the world: great white sharks. I really am scared of sharks. And that's a fear that I've never been able to combat, because I think I must have watched Jaws when I was too young. It really scared me. But you know what? I've never been eaten by a great white shark. I've never been eaten by a shark. So my fear has not manifested that into reality. You know, there's another example of being scared of something doesn't make it happen. if there are problems in the world, like climate change, like pandemics, positive thinking alone is not going to solve them. We need to use logic and cause and effect to really combat these things. So, you know, I'm moving through these different points here, and I'm dismantling a lot of people's beliefs. And to a lot of people, that might sound destructive because I'm dismantling beliefs. But I'm dismantling things that are destructive. I'm trying to dismantle destructive beliefs so that we can put them aside and as a species stop being destructive, stop having destructive beliefs, and move into being constructive by thinking correctly about what is real. So I apologize if it sounds like I am just being negative the whole time. I am being negative the whole time, but in order to then leave behind the negative and move towards what is positive. Because all these things that we're believing in, these are not things that exist in the alien circles. They don't have beliefs like we do. They just know things. They're really good scientists. They've worked out stuff that we haven't. So their knowledge is much greater than ours, and they no longer have any need for beliefs. Another belief, which is a problem, which seems to, well, it's a minor problem, I suppose. It's just a little bit annoying that people have these beliefs. This belief that all it takes is 1% of the population to raise our vibrations high enough by meditating that everyone on the planet will change. This has recently been brought out into the CE5 community as a belief by Dr. Greer. Dr. Greer, he learned all about transcendental meditation when he was young. After his near-death experience, I think it was, he went into transcendental meditation learning and training. And so in about 1959, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, he spoke of the positive, peaceful, global transformations that would naturally result when as little as 1% of the world's population practiced the transcendental meditation technique. It was his technique that he came up with and that lots of people followed. And I don't know much about him. I'm quite prepared to accept that he was a very nice person. I've just been watching the Beatles get back, and it was him that they went and visited. So it became kind of a 60s thing to be into that sort of transcendental meditation, and Dr. Greer was involved, you know, and that's where that belief comes from. It is a belief system. It's not knowledge. It's not something that can be proved or has been proved. It's a belief. And in one of the more recent Dr. Greer documentaries, Dr. Greer states it as a certainty, as a fact, that if we only had 1% of the population doing this meditation, then the whole world would change. Well, that's just not true. At least, let me put it this way. There are no dots in there. I'm trying to connect the dots. How do you connect from one dot to the next in that to form that belief? There's no evidence for that being true. Aside from it seeming to be rather unsolicited and invasive imposition on the personalities of the other 99% of the world's population, there is no evidence for it being true. How can it be true? How can we know it to be true? There's no mechanism for it happening that I know of. It's a theory. It is just a theory. It's never happened before, so it has to just be a theory. We can also look at evidence that contradicts that as a possibility. If all it takes is like a 1%, which is a huge minority, to change the majority, why doesn't the majority end up just get rid of that 1%? Why doesn't the 99% change the minority? It doesn't work. We can see that majorities in our world don't stop minorities from existing. The majority of people on our planet don't commit rape and murder. More than 1% of the people on our planet don't commit rape and murder, and yet those things still occur. It's not like 99% of people are not enough to stop the bad stuff from going on. So how is 1% of the population supposed to stop bad stuff from happening? More than 1% of the people on this planet are Christian. Did that magically make everybody Christian? Or did it magically make everybody moral or prayerful or believe in God? So how can 1% of people believing in aliens or meditating change the whole planet, change everybody else? It's actually illogical. It is illogical. It's backwards. It's incorrect. The dots don't connect. Now, I ask in my sessions for people to logically explain to me why what I just said is wrong. Is there anybody here who can tell me, who can explain what is the proof behind this 1% thing? Can anybody explain that to me in a way that will tell everybody here that it is correct, this 1% thing? Because people accept things as being true without thinking about them. There's no thought process by which that works. Excuse me, I apologize drinking out of a bottle here. That's very slovenly, but I'm the only person in my house.
I have to agree with you, Rupert, that this 100th monkey concept and the phenomena that they're discussing. I've heard Dr. Greer talk about it. It's a wonderful idea that if only a few of us get together, in a collective consciousness, that we can affect all these people. It's a wonderful, beautiful concept. But I don't see any scientific proof, especially when you look into the actual phenomena that they're talking about with this 100th monkey phenomena, where they were washing potatoes in the ocean. And this behavior seemed to go throughout the monkeys kind of like spontaneously. But I did find an article on it, that says it's debunked, actually, because this is, they did have monkeys swim to different islands and they introduced this behavior. Now, why this behavior started spontaneously, who knows? It could have been something with the environment that caused the monkeys to decide on their own that they should be washing their potatoes in the ocean, in the salt water, for some other type of reason. To try to tie that together into a global consciousness shift, I think is really reaching way beyond anything that's been presented so far scientifically with this whole thing that's based upon.
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
yeah, no, I agree, Fred. Thank you very much. So this, I keep saying this, but when I do this session, there are some people that just perceive me now as a negative force because I'm dismantling things that feel good. Isn't it a nice idea to think that we change by just a little bit and then everybody else will change? What I'm trying to do is not depress people. I'm just trying to get people to see the truth so that we can really understand and know what we're up against. And so we can really do something about it that will work rather than just rely on beliefs, because it's relying on our beliefs that are resulting in the destruction of our biosphere. So, yeah, thank you for your input, Fred, and I agree with you completely. This is a tough one because a lot of people believe they've been reincarnated. Now, there's plenty of evidence for reincarnation happening. something is going on. And I recognize that from a very early age when I was researching reincarnation. There are definitely people out there that seem to have some kind of reincarnation type experience. But what exactly is the evidence? And can we make this leap is the leap from evidence to reincarnation, is that a leap of faith or is that a logical deduction? Well, what exactly is the evidence and what exactly can we deduce from it? There are a good number of people out there. Now, when I say a good number of people, I don't know, like 2 to 5% of the population. It's a fairly low number of people who feel like they have actual memories of previous lives. It's a pretty low number, but they believe, yeah, they believe that they have memories of what seems to be previous lives. But it is also evidence that most people don't. Most people don't have those memories. And those that do, they generally only have a small number of memories. It's not like they remember every detail about that person. It's a small number of memories, as though they have had exposure to just a small number of memories, not an entire life. Most people don't seem to have gone through or have memories of this entire life. Well, there are lots of people out there who will justify all of the holes in this reincarnation subject by saying, well, we have our minds wiped before we come back and do this cycle again. And those are the same people will tell you that we do this cycle of reincarnation so we can learn things. So we're doing this cycle so we learn things, but then we have our memories wiped and erased. It sounds made up. It sounds like a children's story. It's contradictory. It doesn't make sense. If our purpose in being reincarnated is so that we can grow and learn, but we're forgetting everything, how are we able to grow and learn? I don't remember anything from any of my previous lives. So how am I learning and building upon what came before? Learning requires conscious knowledge of what it is you've learned, otherwise you haven't learned it. So it doesn't make sense anyway. But the facts that we know about reality don't fit into the idea of a whole. Reincarnation relies on this idea of a whole human spirit being put into a child, a whole adult human spirit being inserted into a growing child. So there's this odd kind of mismatch. The spirit has to lose all its memory, so it's no longer conscious of who it is, and that sort of that idea of the body being just an empty vessel and the spirit being something that is put inside the empty vessel, like it's a routine, like it's a process. That's very problematic for a number of different reasons. First of all, we know, as I've described in our healing sessions, we know how spirits form. We know that everything has a spirit. We can do Kirlian photography on things like a pen. We can photograph its aura, its spiritual energy, its spiritual presence. We know that all objects around us, all like plants, leaves, animals, they all have spirits, and they all grow with the biological being. The spirit of a mouse is mouse shaped. The spirit of a baby mouse is baby mouse shaped. The spirit of a baby human who's died is a baby human. And our spirits grow with us, and they match entirely our biological being. Our spirit and our body are biological matches. And that's why when we die, our biological brain, which is an exact replica of our spiritual brain, which is an exact replica of our biological brain, can retain our consciousness as it is and go into the spirit realm. This idea of the spirit being a separate shape and body and structure doesn't work with what we know about reality. It also doesn't work from the viewpoint of, well, in the last 50 years, we've had more people born on this planet than have ever existed in total prior to this time. Most of us, it would mean, are for the first time coming into a spirit. It would be our first time coming into a body. At best, it would be at worst, it would be like the second time. But does that mean for the entire history of the universe, like 13.8 billion years, does that mean all of the human spirits have been just waiting around for billions of years before our solar system formed, and then 4.5 billion years while all life on the planet evolved, just to get to the stage where now we have human beings being born, and oh, now the human being spirit is ready to go in there. There's an awful lot of waiting around for the biological bodies to be ready. Those spirits, our spirits are made when the biological bodies are made. And what about if you go back like 50,000 years or 100,000 years, when there were different human species, Homo erectus, Homo Neanderthal, Homo florensis, I can't say that word, all these different species, did they have spirits? And what about their spirits now? Are they stopped being reincarnated? Did all of the previous spirits, throughout history, have they all just, were those spirits existing, and then they just had their few thousand years when their species existed and they could come in? Or have you really got flies being reincarnated into humans, which doesn't make any sense, or humans being reincarnated into flies? It's so problematic that it can't be real. It's kind of like a children's book story, that you've got a whole spirit that just keeps cycling around into new bodies every time. The facts and the logic of it just don't make any sense. However, something is definitely happening. There is evidence that people have real memories, sometimes of real events that have happened in the past. Now, it's very telling that these people who have these memories are usually children. And usually these memories fade when they grow into adulthood. It's like their biological brains are overpowering these memories, or taking them over. And the memories are sort of moving into the past. Well, there are 2 or 3 different mechanisms involved in how reincarnation could happen. One of them is overwhelmingly the biggest cause of reincarnation memories. And that is simply our ability to remote view. We know that our spirits, our consciousnesses have the ability to go through time and space, to experience different things. And we know that we can go in there and we can access memories of beings that have existed in the past, but we can also do the same with beings in the future. And we can do it with humans, we can do it with aliens. We have a lot of people who believe that they were once an alien. Okay, that doesn't make spiritual sense, but they believe that because they've gone to a regressional hypnotherapist. The hypnotherapist has hypnotized them, put them in a state by which they can meditate really effectively, remote view really effectively, and they've gone out looking for past lives. They've gone out looking for memories of past lives, and they have found what they were hoping to find. They have targeted and remote viewed into the minds or the memories of other beings in other times and other places, sometimes in the present time also. And when you experience, if you think about your memories, you're experiencing them as though you were you. They're your memories. And if you imagine giving somebody else your memories, then that person's going to experience the same thoughts and feelings as though they were you, as though it's them having those experiences. That's what past lives are. That is what reincarnation is. It is people picking up on the via remote viewing the memories of other people. Now, I don't use other people to, I don't talk about what other people believe as a way of strengthening my argument, but I did find it interesting a few weeks ago that Dr. Greer sent out an email saying exactly what I just said, that reincarnation is not past lives. He also has reached the same deduction. Now, there are other mechanisms for people obtaining, for children obtaining, or people obtaining memories or memories or conscious thoughts from other beings. One of them is possession. Now, possession is a real thing. There are dark beings out there that will come in to weak people when people have sleep paralysis. That's another being trying to communicate with you, trying to enter your body so that they can communicate with you. Often it's a good being. Sometimes it's a bad being. I've personally have experienced a very unpleasant being trying to enter my body, and I had sleep paralysis when that happened, when I was asleep. And I know it's real. I know that can happen. Now I'm pretty strong mentally and spiritually, and I can fight things off like that, but some people are a lot weaker. And if you imagine a child, a baby helpless in its crib, and a being who likes perverting the innocence of a baby, who likes the idea of coming in and doing something negative to a baby or a child, like scaring them. There are beings who enjoy scaring others, including humans, who like doing that sort of thing. Then they can come in and they can possess or inhabit or be inside that child. And they can stay there for a while. They can keep coming back. They can enjoy the physical feelings that go along with having a physical body by inserting themselves in that body. And that allows a transmission of memories into the child, into the baby. And there are babies and children out there who grow up having experienced the memories and the knowledge of beings who have basically inserted themselves within those children and those babies. And I'm saying that in kind of a sinister way, because yes, there are sinister beings out there, but there are also beings out there who may be ancestors of that child, like grandfathers and grandparents, and who may be wanting to insert their knowledge, a bit of their own personality into the child, into the baby. And they can come in there and they can put their heads, their memories and their thoughts into the heads of that baby. And we know that spiritual matter, core ether, has an attractive force to the biological, and you can get new memories forming, actual biological, physical memories forming inside a child around the spiritual memories of a spiritual consciousness. So, you know, there are mechanisms involved whereby this can really happen. That would be the you know, that there are 2 or 3 different methods by which reincarnation can happen, but none of them are the insertion of spirits into biological bodies in the way that reincarnation is typically thought of. It just doesn't work. There's certainly no proof for it. Simply accessing the memories of another person in time, that's not proof. That is doing exactly what we're saying. That is accessing the memories of somebody else who used to be alive, as though they feel like your own. So I know that when I say things like this, it upsets some people, because people become passionately involved in the idea that they've lived previous lives. But no, our spirits grew with our bodies. We are unique spirits. And our spirit when we were 5 years old was a 5-year-old spirit. And our spirits in 10 years from now will be spirits of our bodies that are 10 years down the line. And when we die, our conscious minds are going to keep the age that we have and go into the spirit realm. And we're going to stay in the spirit realm. If you ever want to try and contact somebody that's passed away, you can do it. You can go to a reputable medium, and you can communicate with your parents or your grandparents or your great-grandparents. You can do that. And when you do that, you never get the message, oh, I'm sorry, they're not in right now because they've already been reincarnated. You never get that. They're always there. They're always accessible. So reincarnation is not what we think it is. And, you know, if you start to believe that reincarnation is this wonderful magical process, not magical, it's like a conscious system that's in place. And then you start looking at all of the other species that are on the planet, all the flies, all the mice, all the fish. Do they also get reincarnated? It just, the system collapses when you, the only way it works is if you think of human beings as being the only beings with spirits. And that would be negative discrimination. That's a belief that is incorrect, because we know that not to be true. So we can know that reincarnation is mostly not true. So if you wish to hold these beliefs, any of these beliefs that I've talked about, as I said, I don't think you're a bad person. You don't have to leave my groups. But moving up to the level 7 group, we need to leave beliefs behind us. Now, if you have information that I don't, which is possible, if you have knowledge that I don't, which is possible, then you can know certain things to be true that I don't, then that's fine. You've got knowledge if you've got proof. But if you don't have knowledge of these things, then moving into the level 7 group is not going to be possible. We can't have people believing in things, because when we sit down with those aliens and we start talking about reincarnation and religions and the Matrix and stuff, and the aliens just crack up laughing at how childlike our beliefs still are, or they burst into tears about how we continue to fight on this planet over things that are incorrect, it's not going to go down well. Now, this is probably the hardest one that I'm just about to move on to, because now we're getting into very, very problematic territory, very, very controversial territory. We need to look at religions, religious beliefs. Now, if somebody knows that their religious beliefs might not be correct, then they're not accepting their religious beliefs as being true. If they know they might not be correct, so they're not actually beliefs. Beliefs is accepting something as being true without proof. If you know that what you believe in might not be true, then it's not a belief. It's just like a theory. And it's okay to have theories. It's not a problem to theorize that different things are real, that are out there, as long as you don't accept them as being true without knowledge. However, if a person's religious beliefs cause them to do any of some of the following things that I'm talking about, then that could be a problem for where this progression is going up the CE5 wisdom chart. Let's see. People who have religious beliefs or who believe in God often put their religions or the moral teachings of their religion above everything else. Everything else, like what's the most important thing? It is your God, it is your religion. It's more important than your partner, than any relationships. It's more important than doing even what you think is right, because doing what your God tells you is right is more important. That's a problem in the world, and it would be a problem in this group. If in the future I'm setting up a CE5 community and people are coming in and living in my community, it wouldn't work to have religious beliefs, because I couldn't permit the people to do what their God says is right and wrong over what our society considers to be right and wrong. In the future, with my higher level groups, in my level 7 group, well, actually also in the present, I'm doing this now, we have super coherent small group gatherings. We establish much deeper and closer relationships with aliens. We're going to start a community in the future. And we could even be humanity's, the founding members of humanity's next evolutionary step. That sounds crazily big, but that's the situation we're in, because climate change is real. Aliens are really liking what we're doing. They're really helping us through. And so that could be a very realistic result of where we're going. If people are going in this direction with me, it requires a buy-in to what I want to do, to our moral ways. And it wouldn't work to be overridden by religious views. There'd be clashes over certain practices, like, for example, circumcision, abortion, Kaporos, chicken sacrifices. There are respectable religions out there, like Judaism, that still do sacrifices of animals in very cruel ways. And they're justified through religion. Mutilating babies is part of a religious practice. There are going to be certain, having things like that in our community moving into the future. We're not going to be able to have that sort of thing. When we sit down at the table and talk with aliens, as I've said, we don't want to sit down and start talking to the aliens about reality and having our members bring with them their own religious beliefs, their own, whatever those beliefs are. And I'm not just talking about Christianity. Which beliefs do we accept at the table? Muslim, Judaism, Christianity, Hindu. We've got like a world full of religious beliefs. Are we going to just choose one as the right one? We can't have any beliefs at the table at all, because as soon as we start framing our contact with aliens from a religious perspective, we lose sight of trying to determine what is real. So we can't have that. Religious beliefs, some people categorize aliens as demons or angels. We can't have that sort of thing being put into our conversations with aliens. Otherwise, they're going to view us as unwise. Having having an idea that animals were put on this planet for us to eat. That's a religious thing overriding what ethically, morally we should be able to determine is a better way. We can't have people discriminating against sentient emotional beings based on their species. So there are lots of problems with religion and beliefs. I'm just going to talk briefly about that, specifically about religion and why some of these beliefs just don't work. I have taught in some of my sessions about the Big Bang, about how after the Big Bang, the universe progressed and evolved, and over 13.8 billion years, we have everything in the universe evolving in a way that we can see. We just need to look with telescopes, and we can see out into space far enough that we can see all these things happening. The James Webb Space Telescope is going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be able to see back to almost the Big Bang, to the very first stars that were that formed, because that light has been traveling through the universe all this time. Light continues to travel through the universe until something gets in the way, and the James Webb Telescope is going to get in the way and pick up those images. We're going to be able to see photographs of 13.5 billion years ago. And the Hubble has already taken us back almost that far. So we know that the Big Bang is not a theory. We know it really happened. We know how the solar system formed. We can date all of the rocks and the elements in our solar system. We know how it formed. We know how the Earth formed. We know how life evolved on this planet. I've given sessions on this where we look at all of the evidence, all of the fossils, the fossil life. Life evolved on this planet, and more than that, evolution can't not happen the way that science says it does. It can't not. It has to. It's very simple logic. We have got here as a human species, we've evolved after, the evolution of the universe and creating planets. There's nothing religious about it. There is no evidence for God being in there anywhere. Now, people used to believe in God when they didn't have any of these answers, and it made sense back then. We don't know what any of this is up there. We don't know where it came from. God created it all. But we know better than that now. We know better. There is not room for God as something we accept as being true anymore. Religious people used to persecute people for saying that the Earth was the center of the universe. Well, the church would say, that the sun was the center of the universe. The Earth would say, I think my words mixed up. The church would say that the Earth is the center of the universe because we as humans are God's creation. We're at the center of the universe, and everything else revolves around us. And when scientists came in and said, well, no, actually the Earth is going around the sun, people were killed for that. And over time, religious people had to let go of this idea that the Earth was the center of the solar system, because it just became so obvious to everybody that the sun is the center of the solar system that they just had to let go of it. We've got to the stage where we just have to let go of God creating the universe. We have to let go of God creating us, because that is an old-fashioned belief that is so out of date now. We know that not to be true. And the modern way of saying the word God is source. people talk about source and I say, well, what is source? And they, we come from source. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Well, you know, we come from the ground. I mean, ground, our molecules came from our environment. Yeah. But our environment isn't alive. It's not God. Our spiritual components of Coretha came from basic raw spiritual Coretha that's floating around in the spirit realm, and it came together. So, you know, the source of us are these molecules of the ground and these Coretherial particles of spirit. But just because the source, you know, we come from a source, I mean, everything comes from somewhere. There is a source to everything. Doesn't mean it's God. Somebody tell me, what is the proof of this? Why are we leaping to these conclusions? Well, part of it is sometimes people have spiritual experiences where they die and everything feels very loving, and they don't understand it, but they understand that there's a powerful consciousness out there. Sure, there has to be consciousnesses out there that are way more advanced than us. And sure, some of those consciousnesses are going to seem godlike, but it is an incorrect interpretation and assumption to fall back on our caveman instincts to say it's the creator of everything. And it is the creator of everything with an infinite moral capacity. We need to move away from that. So I know that some people, when I give this speech, they just don't want to know anymore. And because it's going against their beliefs, and their beliefs are so precious to them, they can't let go of them. Even though there's no proof, they can't let go of them. And they will say, I know that they're real. And I'll say, well, how was it proved to you? And they're like, I just know. But, you know, we saw last time in the level 4 thinking session, people who have strong Christian beliefs, they were raised in a Christian society, mostly. People who have strong Jewish beliefs were raised in a Jewish community. People who have strong Muslim beliefs were raised in a strong Muslim or Islamic community. We get our beliefs through social conditioning. We need to evolve beyond the social conditioning that 300,000 years of evolution has put upon us, of social evolution. We need to recognize that none of that has worked. It's destroying us. And we need to stop, and we need to let go of all of those beliefs, and we need to evolve our thinking to become more alien. We need to let go of beliefs and just go with what we know. It's very simple, even though it's really, really hard for some people. It's like an equation. 2 + 2 equals, it has to equal 4. Beliefs do not equate. We have to let go of beliefs. Belief plus successful contact with successful relationships with aliens do not equal 4. I'm not sure if that works. We're not gonna get to where we want to get to if we have beliefs. So I guess I'm sounding passionate about this because I am passionate about it, because I've seen in my life, I've seen the world destroying itself non-stop because of people not knowing truths. And I've tried to help people to see truths and to get people to stop destroying the planet. And I've given up because I can see that we can't do it as a species. We're not mature enough. We're not wise enough. But I can put together a small group of people who are wise enough. Wise enough in every way: loving, moral, knowledgeable, with experience to back it up, with the thinking skills to know what is true. I can put together a small group of people who are going to survive into the future and flourish. And if that's the only thing that comes out of 300,000 years of evolution, it's sad, but at least it is an evolution into the future. And that's what the aliens are supporting us with doing. So in my summary, no belief system is valid. But we can hold on to things that we believe in if we stop believing and start knowing. And we don't need to let go of cultural stuff. I love, for example, singing Christmas songs. I love watching Jesus Christ Superstar. I love, a lot of the religious aspects of my culture. I just don't believe that they're real. That doesn't mean that everything I think that happened in the Bible is incorrect. I'm quite happy to think that there was a Jesus, and that these characters in there, a lot of them were real characters from history, and a lot of the events really happened. But I don't have the same interpretation as other people do. I'm not ascribing them to, for example, a God. So if I can conclude my session, what I think we need to conclude from this is that we need to remove beliefs from our consciousness. We need to substitute them with knowledge of what is true, what isn't true, what might be true, what is probably not true, knowledge of what can't be true, knowledge of what has to be true. We also, as we talked about last session, we need to be very careful about what we say, because what you say has an effect in the world. Actions have consequences. If we spread misinformation, if we spread beliefs, we are actively promoting misunderstanding, conflict. We're promoting ignorance. We're promoting harm, lack of harmony. We need to not copy and paste things into our mind, like stuff to do with the Matrix, for example, like astrology. We need to not paste to other people, copy and paste to other people, because that's harmful to them. We need to embrace logic. We need to spread knowledge. In the CE5 community, we need to not accept anything that anyone says unless things have been proved to them. Now, let's get this in perspective. In my group, the level 7 group is now having very successful communications with aliens on a weekly basis. We have connected with Tuk Tuk, this wonderful, caring, loving being who likes what we're doing. She comes in and heals us. And this is real. You can watch the videos, watch that healing video. That's real stuff. If you were in the session this morning, the remote viewing session, you saw remote viewing is real. It works. I'm not selling you something that I can't prove. I'm not trying to sell you anything that can't be proved. These things that we're achieving in this group are real. But my level 7 group is doing it without beliefs. We're doing it without God, and it's working. Ultimately, if you have a belief that you're hesitant to let go of, ask yourself the following questions. Do you know that what you believe in is really real in the way that you think that it's real, that you believe it's real? Because if you don't know that it's real, if it has not been proved to you, then you shouldn't be accepting it as being true. It's invalid to accept it as being true. How will aliens look at you if you have acceptings as being true that are invalid? And if you were to talk to an alien and say, hey, my religion, my God, this, that, and that, have you ever met my God? And they look at you like, what are you talking about? We never go onto spacecraft and see crucifixes. In fact, isn't that a bit like, I'm not sure the word, it's not very wise to think that we're talking to these higher beings, and the God of all of us is human in appearance. The Son of God is human. It would be like us finally being able to talk to chimpanzees, and then them saying, have you ever met our chimpanzee God who created you as well as us? No, your chimpanzee God did not create us. Anyway, so these are really hard things to talk about, and I'm trying to talk about them logically. When you have faith in something, that's holding on to a belief, that's accepting something as being true without logic. And it's very hard often to convince somebody who has a belief they're incorrect by using logic, because logic doesn't factor into their beliefs. So I understand that nothing I say is going to change some people's minds, but I hope that you will really give some honest thought to what I'm saying. If you don't like what I'm saying, we can still be friends. You can still stay in the group. You don't have to leave the group. But if you choose to, I fully understand that. Remember, you're not losing anything by stopping at this stage. You can still keep doing everything you've been doing up until now. The only thing that's happening is you would be gaining something if you're moving to level 7. But if I'm wrong and you're right, you're not gaining something by moving to level 7. So, there is that to consider as well. You're not losing anything either way, unless you're wrong. So I'm going to stop talking there. And this is a hard session, and I understand that some people may be feeling conflict within. But I am going to ask people, do you have any questions or comments about anything that I've said? Excuse me, taking a quick sip from my bottle here. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what the next step is. The next step is, now some of you may have already done the morality part of this because it cycles around. If you've already attended the morality level 4 session, then you can do the morality 5 test. And then the next session you can attend that is the final one. The morality 6 session. The morality 6 session is for people who have done everything else on this chart. That has to be the last session. Now, because it's like a graduation ceremony, I have decided that people, if they want to, they can attend that session even if they haven't got there, just as an observer. And you can observe and you can listen and you can applaud. You just don't graduate until you've done all of the other things. And it's kind of fun. It was kind of powerful when we did that session before. Let me tell you of upcoming events. Tomorrow morning, healing in Patreon. If anybody wants to join the healing group in Patreon, then you may do so there. I have juggled that around a little bit, and I mentioned that to Diana earlier on, but people don't want to pay $40 to get healing from Tacta on a weekly basis. People are happy to pay hundreds of dollars to go to a doctor and get healing, but not $40 for healing from Tacta. So I've cut the price of that option in Patreon. So I am now, it comes out as at a rate of $2.50 an hour of healing you can get from Tacta and me in my healing meditations, and CE5s if you wish to pay for that. So that's $20 a month, and that is a weekly session. So that works out as about $20 for 8 hours, $2.50 for an hour. Why am I charging any money at all for this? Because I'm putting like 30 hours a week into this. And it's a service that I think is very important and a lot of people are getting out of. It's not a compulsory payment. Most of what I do is free, but I am trying to set up the CE5 facility, training facility, and without getting a lot of support from a lot of people, I'm never going to get there. So that's why I'm trying to raise some money. The New Year's Eve thing is going to be a lot of fun, I hope. I'm going to prepare for that. That's going to be a 5-hour marathon for anybody that's up for it. I don't know why. I'm looking forward mostly to the singing. But there's going to be singing, and there's going to be, I'm going to read my book to people. I'm going to be putting on more lectures and alien stuff, and hopefully we'll have some guest speakers coming in and talking also. And if you're in the level 7 group, this Wednesday, we're going to be reaching out to tall whites. Although I haven't posted that one yet. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments now?
Hi.
Hi, Eve.
I just want to say that I think everything that you're doing is wonderful. Thank you so much for all of the time that you put into this, because without it, I would be lost as a person and not really knowing what to do with the knowledge that I have, or the beliefs that I'm trying to come to know as knowledge. So just thank you for everything that you're doing. I love being a part of this group. I know I don't talk a whole lot in the other groups, and I rarely have my camera on. It's because I have 5 kids and my house is always a mess, and I'm always walking around the house listening to the Zoom meetings and stuff. But thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here every session. And that's all I really had to say. And good night to all of you when we get there.
Eve, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. That's lovely to have people like you in my group. I appreciate it. And thank you, Diana, for nodding your head all the way through that also. That's fantastic. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Rupert, hi.
Hi, Matthew.
To repeat what Eve said, and I've said this, I think almost every time I make a comment, thank you for all the time, effort, thought, and how do I put this, deep dive that you go into with the detail and the logic. And I think back to a previous comment that I made in one of our sessions, and you mentioned to me that, well, there are a couple of things you said, Matthew, that I don't particularly agree with, which I now understand based on tonight's session. So thank you for tonight's session. I will need to, I don't disagree with anything you've said tonight. I just need to incorporate it into my own journey, so to speak. So again, I thank you and respect everything that you're doing. I do want to relate one experience that I had with the leader of a CE5 group who was participating, not in her group, but in another meditation group that I was in. and she took some liberties in running the meditation, which I just didn't agree with at all. And one of the things that she said, and it wasn't my group, she was a participant, I was a participant. I thought what she did was way out of line. It was crazy. I don't want to be a disruptive force in any of the groups that I'm in. So I decided to, it disturbed me so much, I decided to handle it with her offline. So I called the group leader first, had a discussion with him, and I said, listen, I don't want to be a disruptive force within the group, but this bothered me so much. I want to speak with this person outside the group, and I go to you for guidance to let you know what I want to do. Do you want to participate? Do you want to know? I included him in the process, and he said, Matt, I understand. Go do what you have to do. I spoke to the lady, and she said that she did this because she had 100% guidance from her gods, not gods. That's a funny slip. She had 100% guidance from her guides that this is what she should do and say in the meditation. And what was ironic, after that, the next meditation group that both of us were in, everything was civil, everything was great. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is the energy in this group, I'm out. I'm withdrawing. I wasn't going to go back to the next session. And she announces in the group that for whatever reason, she's leaving. I'm saying to myself, okay, negative energy is gone from the group. I'm staying in the group. She decides to send an email to the group a week and a half after she left that, well, the real reason she left is because of Matt Eisenberg this, Matt Eisenberg that. Talk about negative energy. Talk about 100% guidance. The group disbanded after that. The group was no more. But people in this community present themselves as having 100% guidance from their guides because they haven't exercised their own discernment, my opinion. They haven't determined right from wrong. I'm thinking to myself as she's doing this, no, you shouldn't be doing this. That is not right. But there are people like that in our community. So your filter function, I'm an engineer by training also, your filter function to get to level 7 is exactly what it is. It happens all over. It happens in life. That's what should be happening. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people don't go through the trouble of forming what the filter process is. All the thought and logic that go into it is just inspiring and mind-boggling to me. I don't know if there's a point that I'm making with all this, but this is a place to share. And I'm just sharing some experiences that I've had, Rupert. So if you have any comments on that, that's great. But thank you again for the enlightenment that you're providing to us and this community.
Thank you for your comments, Matthew. I appreciate them. Yeah, I see group leaders around the world that, there are many awesome group leaders, and I'm good friends with some of them. And some of them are great collaborators with my group. And, so I'm, I don't want to put people down, but there are many group leaders out there who are not wise, and in a number of different ways, and who have all of the faults that I've talked about, that humanity has kept within itself for hundreds of thousands of years. And I see that. I know whole countries who have been lost to CE5 networks run by very, very dark, dishonest, selfish people. And it's very sad. So I know, and I see that there's that problem, and I'm sorry about what happened about, her bringing your name into it in a public forum after she, the group collapsed. I have people do that about me after I remove them from my groups, and then, the next day there will be horrible threads about me in other public groups, that for me is actually one of the ways that I know that I made the right decision in removing somebody. If somebody, when they get removed, will go out in a public forum and spread negativity about anybody in a public way like that, that's like, yeah, they deserve to be removed. That kind of proves it. I'm sad that this stuff is going on out there, to you, to me, to other people. People contact me a lot saying that they're having negative experiences. And I try as hard as I can to cater to everybody, but at the same time do this filtering process so that some of my time at least can be spent with the higher level people who are filtered, who really can really take us in an amazing direction. When I have these level 7 meetings, I'm sad to say that some of my friends have dropped out of that, because they're very religious, or some aspect of what I said doesn't sit well with them. But the love and the connection and the coherence in the level 7 group is extraordinary. And we are really achieving amazing things there. Just really nice, caring, considerate people without beliefs, who are prepared to, we're prepared to go to TACTA and say, what do you really look like? Tell us what your appearance really is. Are we really, we're not scared of seeing you how you really might be. Are you really humanoid and beautiful in that perfect way? Show us what you're really like. And she showed us. And we are going to deeper levels than other people. I've seen other people go. So the rewards of getting to the top of this process, they're extraordinary. And the love and the friendship is real in these higher groups. And if in the future we end up meeting, I know it's just going to be such a special thing, like in person. It's really going to be special. So it's sad to let go of so many people, but it's wonderful to be. It's like we're concentrating our bright light into a laser light. It's like really coherent. That's what laser light is, right? Coherent light. That's what it's like. And that laser light is powering its way into alien territory. So yeah, it's got its bad parts, but it's also got its wonderful parts. Thank you, Matt.
So if it's okay, Rupert, just the epilogue, can I briefly tell you what I did to get closure for myself. When
Okay.
I thought I was done, a week and a half later, this email goes out to the group. It's a direct attack on Matt Eisenberg by name with this and that. The
If-
old Matt,
Can I ask maybe if, yes, go ahead, but let's keep it under a minute.
the old Matt would have sent an email out to the group. The new Matt said, no, she sent it out. She revealed herself. I am going to do nothing with the group. What I did for myself to get closure, I don't know if you've ever heard of a term called memo to file. I wrote the whole thing up with the emails back and forth, with the dates, with the sequencing. So if I had to go to Judge Judy the next day, Judge, here's everything that happened, documented from my perspective, and I filed it. I hope I kept that to less than a minute.
I think you did, and I think you're very wise. Yeah. I agree that that's a good way to deal with it. And that's how I deal with it. If somebody is negative about me, I distance myself from it. I don't engage, because as soon as you engage, then you get involved in the negativity. And so, yeah, I think you were wise. I think that was good.
It's just extending the negative energy. What do you want to extend that for? I don't
Yeah.
want to be responsible for that. No, you reveal yourself. I'm done. I do my memo to file. Goodbye.
Good job. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you, Matt, for sharing that with us. I'm going to ask if anybody else has anything to say. Does anybody else want to comment? Anybody else who hasn't said anything yet, perhaps? Okay, so I'm going to stop recording at this point.